Would you believe me if I told you that chimpanzees may be living through something similar to the beginning of humanity? For a very long time, we believed that only humans were capable of creating tools, developing strategies, and passing knowledge from one generation to another. But new discoveries are shocking scientists around the world and revealing that chimpanzees may have taken a gigantic step in evolution. Some researchers believe these animals may be entering a kind of stone age, exactly like what happened to our ancestors thousands of years ago. The scariest part is realizing how similar they are to us when it comes to surviving, hunting, protecting themselves, and teaching their young. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications because here you'll discover the most curious, mysterious, and unbelievable stories about animals, nature, evolution, and real facts that seem straight out of a movie. If you enjoy learning incredible things about the animal world and stories that almost nobody knows, this channel was made for you. Chimpanzees are not just randomly using rocks. Scientists discovered entire groups of these animals carefully choosing specific stones, carrying tools over long distances, and using techniques passed down from generation to generation. In some regions of Africa, they use stones to crack extremely hard nuts, something that requires strength, precision, and learning. Even more impressive, young chimpanzees spend years watching adults before they finally learn how to do it correctly. This means there is a form of culture among them, something we once believed only humans possessed. But the discoveries became even more shocking when researchers noticed that certain chimpanzees save tools to use later, planning future actions the way humans do. They can choose the best objects for specific tasks and even adapt techniques depending on how difficult the food is to open. Some scientists claim this may be one of the strongest signs of advanced intelligence ever seen in wild animals. In certain forests, researchers found places where chimpanzees have used stones repeatedly for so many years that the ground itself became marked, just like ancient human archaeological sites. This led experts to compare their behavior to the first humans of the Stone Age. Imagine realizing that creatures alive today may be repeating the same steps our ancestors took at the dawn of human civilization. What makes this even more incredible is that chimpanzees also show deeply complex emotions. They feel fear, sadness, joy, and even grief. They have been seen hugging members of their group after conflicts, caring for injured companions, and staying close to dead chimpanzees as if mourning their loss. The more scientists study these animals, the more they realize that the line separating humans and chimpanzees may be far smaller than we once imagined. And this raises a terrifying question. If they continue developing their abilities over thousands of years, how far could they eventually go? As scientists continued studying chimpanzees in the wild, they began witnessing behaviors so advanced that many researchers could hardly believe what they were seeing. Some chimpanzee groups were not only using tools but actually modifying them for different purposes. They would strip leaves of branches to create hunting sticks, sharpen wooden tools with their teeth, and carefully prepare objects before using them. This kind of planning was once considered one of the clearest signs of early human intelligence. In some areas, chimpanzees have even developed completely different techniques depending on the region where they live. One group may use stones in a certain way, while another group, hundreds of miles away, uses entirely different methods for solving the same problem. Scientists describe this as cultural variation, meaning these animals are creating their own traditions and passing them down through generations, almost like ancient human tribes. What shocked researchers the most was how quickly young chimpanzees absorb information. Baby chimps spend years watching older members of the group very closely. They observe every movement, every mistake, and every success. Over time, they slowly copy those behaviors until they master the skill themselves. This process looks incredibly similar to the way human children learn from parents and communities. But there is another side to chimpanzees that many people never hear about. Beneath their intelligence lies an intense and sometimes terrifying social world. Chimpanzees form alliances, create friendships, compete for power, and even manipulate members of their own group. Dominant males fight for leadership in violent battles that can completely change the structure of the community. Some scientists say their societies are surprisingly political, filled with strategy, trust, betrayal, and cooperation. Researchers have also recorded moments where chimpanzees appeared to prepare for danger before it arrived. Certain groups create warning calls for specific predators, meaning they can communicate different threats to one another. A warning for a snake sounds different from a warning for a leopard. This level of communication suggests their minds are processing far more information than we once imagined possible for animals. Even more disturbing are the moments when chimpanzees seem to display self-awareness. In mirror experiments, some chimpanzees recognize their own reflection, something only a small number of species on Earth can do. This discovery stunned scientists because self-recognition is considered a major sign of higher intelligence and consciousness. There have also been cases where chimpanzees use teamwork during hunts with incredible coordination. Some distract prey while others wait in hidden positions, almost like trained hunters following a strategy. After successful hunts, they sometimes share food within the group, strengthening social bonds and alliances. These actions reveal a level of organization that feels almost human. The deeper researchers explore the lives of chimpanzees, the more mysterious they become. Every year, scientists uncover new evidence suggesting these animals may be capable of learning, adapting, and evolving in ways humanity underestimated for centuries. Some experts now wonder if we are witnessing the early stages of a long evolutionary path that could continue for thousands or even millions of years. And perhaps the most chilling thought of all is this: if chimpanzees are already capable of building culture, using tools, teaching knowledge, planning ahead, and forming complex societies, then how different are they from the earliest humans who first entered the Stone Age? The more scientists uncover about chimpanzees, the more the boundary between humans and animals begins to blur in ways that feel almost impossible to accept. Deep inside remote African forests, researchers have documented behaviors that resemble the earliest foundations of civilization itself. Some chimpanzee communities have existed in the same territories for generations, building social systems so complex that each group develops its own identity, hierarchy, traditions, and survival methods. One of the most fascinating discoveries came when scientists realized that chimpanzees do not simply inherit instincts, they inherit knowledge. Young chimpanzees raised in one community may struggle to adapt if introduced to another group with different techniques and behaviors. This suggests that much of what they know is learned socially rather than genetically. In other words, chimpanzees are teaching each other, just as humans have done throughout history. Researchers also observed that certain chimpanzees display extraordinary patience while solving problems. In experiments, they remembered the locations of hidden objects for long periods of time, used logic to reach food rewards, and sometimes outperformed humans in short-term memory tests. Some chimpanzees could memorize sequences of numbers in mere seconds and recall them with shocking accuracy. Scientists studying animal cognition describe these abilities as some of the most advanced ever recorded outside the human species. But intelligence is only part of the mystery. Chimpanzees also possess emotional depth that can be deeply unsettling to witness. Mothers have been seen carrying the bodies of deceased infants for days, refusing to let them go. Members of a group sometimes gather silently around a dying chimpanzee, watching carefully as if understanding the gravity of death itself. In several recorded cases, chimpanzees appear to comfort one another after traumatic events, embracing, touching, or remaining close in complete silence. These emotional behaviors force scientists to ask difficult questions. Are chimpanzees capable of grief? Do they understand loss? Could they possess a level of emotional awareness far beyond what humanity once believed animals could feel? Even more shocking are reports of chimpanzees using deception. Some individuals hide food from dominant members of the group, pretending not to notice valuable resources until others leave. Others have been observed manipulating social situations to gain advantages during conflicts. This means they are not only thinking strategically, they may also understand the thoughts and intentions of others around them. As researchers continued studying wild populations, another disturbing pattern emerged. Chimpanzees adapt incredibly fast when their environments change. They learn new feeding techniques, create new survival strategies, and modify behaviors depending on threats around them. This adaptability is one of the very traits that allowed early humans to survive harsh conditions and spread across the planet. Some scientists now believe that if chimpanzees had different environmental pressures and enough time across evolutionary history, their development path could potentially become even more advanced than we imagine today. While they are obviously not building cities or technology, the foundations of learning, communication, culture, cooperation, and tool use are already present. And perhaps the strangest part of all is how closely their DNA matches our own. Humans and chimpanzees share around 98% of their genetic code. That tiny difference separates modern civilization from life in the forest. When people hear that number, many are shocked, but for scientists who spend years studying chimpanzees, the resemblance becomes impossible to ignore. Some researchers even describe moments in the forest where chimpanzees appear eerily human. the way they observe strangers, the way they protect family members, the way they react to fear, anger, curiosity, and affection. Looking into the eyes of a chimpanzee can sometimes feel less like observing an animal and more like staring into a distant reflection of humanity's ancient past. This is why the idea of chimpanzees entering a stone age terrifies and fascinates scientists at the same time. It suggests that the roots of intelligence, culture, and technological development may not belong exclusively to humans after all. Instead, those traits may exist as part of a much older evolutionary story still unfolding in the natural world today. And if that story continues for thousands of years into the future, one haunting question remains unanswered. Could chimpanzees eventually become something far beyond what we recognize today? For centuries, humanity believed it stood completely alone at the top of intelligence on Earth. We built civilization, created technology, explored space, and reshaped the planet itself. Animals were often seen as creatures driven only by instinct, surviving day by day without deeper understanding of the world around them. But the deeper scientists venture into the lives of chimpanzees, the more that belief begins to collapse. What makes chimpanzees so terrifyingly fascinating is not just their intelligence, it is how familiar that intelligence feels. In the dense forests where they live, every day is a battle for survival. Rival groups compete for territory, food, and dominance. Alliances form and break apart. Leaders rise through strategy, strength, and social influence. Young chimpanzees spend years learning the rules of their society, studying older members the same way human children learn from parents and communities. It is not chaos. It is structure. It is organization. It is the beginning of something far more complex than anyone once imagined. Scientists studying chimpanzees for decades often describe moments that completely changed how they viewed animals forever. Some researchers spoke about seeing chimpanzees pause during storms, staring silently into the sky as thunder echoed through the forest. Others witnessed them carefully examining the bodies of dead companions with expressions that appeared hauntingly close to grief and confusion. In rare moments, chimpanzees have even been observed using gestures that seem almost symbolic, as though they are communicating emotions words cannot express. The more we study them, the more uncomfortable the truth becomes. Chimpanzees are capable of violence, empathy, cooperation, jealousy, affection, revenge, patience, and planning. They can work together during hunts with astonishing precision. They can remember individuals after years of separation. They can recognize themselves in mirrors, solve complex puzzles, and adapt to changing environments with remarkable speed. These are not simple behaviors. These are signs of minds evolving under pressures not entirely different from those faced by our earliest ancestors. And then comes the most chilling realization of all. Everything humanity has become may have started with behaviors very similar to the ones chimpanzees display today. Long before skyscrapers, computers, languages, and modern civilization, early humans once lived in small groups, shaped stones into tools, learned through observation, protected their families, and fought to survive in dangerous environments. The foundations of human civilization did not appear overnight. They evolved slowly across unimaginable stretches of time. That is why the idea of chimpanzees entering a stone age is so shocking to scientists. It forces humanity to confront a possibility many people never considered. Intelligence may not be unique to us. The roots of culture, technology, communication, and social complexity may exist naturally within other species, waiting for enough time and opportunity to develop further. Some experts warn that human activity could interrupt that process forever. Deforestation, hunting, habitat destruction, and climate change continue threatening chimpanzee populations across Africa. Entire communities disappear before scientists even have the chance to fully understand them. We may be losing some of the most important clues about intelligence and evolution in the natural world. Others believe these discoveries should change the way humanity sees animals entirely. If chimpanzees can teach knowledge, pass down traditions, experience grief, form political alliances, and create tools, then perhaps the gap separating humans from the rest of nature is far smaller than civilization once believed. And yet, despite all these discoveries, there is still so much we do not understand. What are chimpanzees truly thinking when they stare into the eyes of another member of their group? How much do they understand about death, survival, or the future? Could their communication system become more advanced over thousands of years? Could their use of tools continue evolving generation after generation? No scientist on Earth can answer those questions with certainty. But one thing is becoming impossible to deny. When humanity looks at chimpanzees, we may not simply be observing animals. We may be looking at a living window into our own ancient past, a reflection of what humans once were before civilization began, and perhaps a glimpse of what intelligence itself looks like at the very beginning of its journey.